I just couldn't go on anymore. It was when I realised that maybe this was it, and maybe this is where my story ended. I don't know what you've been told, but the sky right here's gonna rule the world. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm doing a video that I've really wanted to do for a long time, which is talk about my whole journey with a chronic illness from the start when I was just a scared little 14-year-old till now when I'm 16 and I'm learning to cope and grow with these conditions. Also, you may have noticed since the last video, I got braces and I hate them. But at least we're all matchy with my top and all today. So let's get into the video. In September 2016, when I was 14, I came down with a viral infection which was like the glandular fever virus, but they never actually could find the actual mononucleosis in my blood, but they could see all my infection markers up and I was really unwell. My symptoms started with tiredness that never went away, and I was basically bedbound for months, and my neck, the pain in it, I literally could not sit up and my neck was swollen and I just felt nauseous 24/7. Then that December I began passing out when I stood up, and I kept going back to the doctors and they said you have post-viral fatigue syndrome and eventually it'll go away. You'll get better, it'll be fine. Vividly, I remember, I think it was the last week of December, I started throwing up. I had my meal and I threw up later on, which was really late, and the food was not digested. I just remember that vividly. And then in January, I remember I was going to my performing arts class and I took some sip and I threw up and couldn't go. I was really unwell. So I actually ended up getting admitted to hospital. Basically, my mum and I had been researching a lot, trying to figure out what was actually wrong with me. And we came across a thing called POTS, which stands for postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome, which means when you stand up, your blood pressure drops, your heart rate rises, and you will pass out. We thought this could explain what was going on for me. So a doctor came in and we asked him about it, and he was like, okay, we'll do a lie understanding test, and he did that, went away and came back and said, Sophie, what did you think you were diagnosed with? And I was like, well, I think I might have POTS and chronic fatigue syndrome. And he said, well, your diagnosis is right and that is what you have. And I was like confused, and they started me on meds, but they couldn't control my vomiting. In May, I was admitted to hospital with dehydration, having ketones, malnutrition. So they said, you have an eating disorder, you're making yourself sick. And I was like, I'm genuinely not. You can watch me. I'm not sticking my fingers down my throat. Something is wrong. I don't have an eating disorder. So, sorry if the camera angle changed. My phone ran out of storage. So after this, they basically said, well, we're going to put an NG tube in and feed you, even though my consultant was like, I think her stomach's emptying slow. Like, this isn't going to work. But this other doctor was determined to place an NG tube. Eventually, I got discharged from hospital. I'm tolerating it okay-ish, but then I just went downhill and I had my gastric emptying scans. This is where your stomach, they see how fast or slow it's emptying. So mine came back that my liquid emptying was like double what it should be. Basically then they were like, yeah, you have mild gastroparesis. So after that, they placed an NJ tube, a nasojejunal tube, from my nose into my intestine to feed me, bypassing the stomach. This made me feel well and I gained weight again. I started going back to performing arts and dance and just living my life. But then in December, I went downhill again. It wasn't my tube, I think my intestine it was. Reflux that much that like stuff from my intestines were just making me throw up and nothing was staying in. On the 13th of March, I was sent to A&E and they discovered my potassium was low because I was being sick so much and couldn't tolerate feed. They put me on a heart monitor because they were afraid my heart was doing dodgy things. This is where I spent 10 weeks in hospital and I was starving I had a month off my tube feeds trying to eat, but I just lost weight, so they placed the NJ again, and I felt terrible. During the 10-week admission, they found out that my stomach is floppy in a J shape. I will insert a photo here. Anything that goes in gets stuck because it can't get up and out. This is to do with my, well, what we now know is Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. They also figured out that my intestine was narrowed at in the duodenum, which is called superior mesenteric artery syndrome. They also discovered my intestines weren't emptying very well at all. They were very slow. Then things were okay-ish, but I was in a wheelchair because I couldn't walk. My energy levels were so low. Then I threw up my NJ, ended up in A&E with severe pain at least 2 times. And then the last time I threw up my NJ, they admitted me to the ward. I went down to interventional radiology and I could feel them poking in my stomach. They were placing just straight wires, not even a tube, down my nose, so I was honestly just squealing. I was not okay with my care, and they would not listen to me when I said I can't tolerate this, and the pain and vomiting just was constant. It was honestly, I remember one night I was throwing up blood and praying to God that he would just take me because I couldn't take the suffering anymore, and it was so inhumane the way I was treated, and it was just flipping horrible. I've never seen my mum break down and cry so many times in my life. Nobody would listen and I was starving. So they decided to send me a specialist in London, but the waiting times were kind of long. In the meantime, they couldn't place another NJ tube, so I starved for another month. They placed a jejunal tube into my intestines. I'll insert a photo here. The surgery made me weak. The feed I couldn't tolerate. At this point, after my surgery, I was 34 kilograms, which gave me a BMI of 12.8. And I'll insert a photo here.
Like, literally, not being funny, look at the bones. There was nothing left of me.
I just couldn't go on anymore. Maybe this was it, and maybe this is where my story ended. Just remember, I wrote a post on Instagram and I basically said goodbye to all my friends, and I would text my friend Olivia and Amy and be like, this is the day, I'm not gonna make it and I'm so sorry. Then I got hope again. They decided to place a PICC line, which I will show you in my arm here. A PICC line, and start me on a thing called total parenteral nutrition. Within a week, I got energy back. I met one of my amazing friends, Jamie, and I went to London for an appointment where I was diagnosed with EDS, which is Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, and this gave me an answer of what I'd been fighting for the whole time. I finally got my answer and I had validation that something was wrong and that I wasn't psycho, basically, like they were treating me. So the TPN has helped me thrive, and here I am today, and I'm here to give you an update of how I'm doing. I am back at my performing arts and I am in a show on the 23rd of March. I'm working in their office for their social media management. I'm teaching a class on Thursday nights. I am thriving, and at the minute I'm tired because my TPN has been turned down a bit, but I'm going to be okay again, and I just want someone to know that they're not alone, and if this gives you any hope, then please know that. Thank you guys for watching this video. Honestly, if you watched it the whole way through, I am proud of you. You are a true OG gal. I don't know what you've been told, but the sky right here.